Let's give Morocco their flowers. What's the big lesson learned here from Morocco's run to the semifinal? First ever African team to make it this far in the tournament.
I want you to repeat something you said to me before the game kicked off. We were talking about Morocco, and you mentioned something the coach said in the presser.
Yes. So Walid Regragui, right? Yeah. I was asked this question on SportsCenter today. You know, kind of put Morocco's run into context, and he kind of pointed out that Europeans like to think of African teams as these teams that have fun, that play fun soccer, but eventually get knocked out. And he wanted to change that image. He wanted to say, you know, we are going to be different. We're not trying to appease you. We're trying to advance. And it was very clear what their setup was. Some might call it negative, some might call it pragmatic, but it was very effective. They knocked out the teams you mentioned, and then in knockout football, they took down Spain, recent World Cup champion. They took down Portugal, you know, by all measures, a powerhouse.
Champion.
Right, and when it comes to producing talent. So they really, I think, showed, and I think this applies not just to teams from Africa, to teams from Asia, even to teams from North America, like U.S. and Mexico. Pragmatic soccer works in these tournaments. And I know everybody wants to play al tu por tu, but I don't know that if when you play the big boys, playing al tu por tu is the way to advance.
Right. Do you remember when I spoke about Canada? Mm-hmm. And I said, I honestly think Canada can get out of their group. Mm-hmm. And you asked me why. I was like, well, I think in a tournament setting, they can play a style that's conducive for a tournament setting. Mm-hmm. You have a young team, a fit team. You have a team that can be pragmatic.
Can hit you on the counter,
hit you on the counter at pace. They have all those elements, right? They kind of betrayed that with John Herdman in this tournament. They tried playing him for two for two.
Mostly the Croatia game, yeah.
Yeah, and it hurt them, and hurt them bad. Morocco doesn't have, and I say this with all due respect, they don't have that one world-class player.
Hakimi's pretty good.
Okay, Hakimi's on Pulisic's level if you look at it. I mean, think about it. Let me explain myself. He's got more of a history, Ajax, Champions League, all that. Right. But I'm talking about where they are in the last year and a half, 2 years of trying to crack into that lineup, get playing time.
PSG, I mean, that's.
Oh, I'm sorry, you said Hakimi. Yes, you're correct there. Yes.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Yeah, you're right. For a right back, he is world class.
Yeah. That's one.
Your world-class players are right back, right?
You hate right backs. Noted. What position did I play? Right back. Got it.
Probably be like corners in football.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. So what I'm trying to get at is you've got more of a base to go pragmatic, more of a base to go disciplined, and try to nullify an opponent's game instead of imposing your game. And when I have to be very careful when I talk about this because you said it right now, negative football. I'm not saying that's negative.
No.
That's not negative at all.
It might not be aesthetically pleasing. Right.
To everybody. There are some people who enjoy a team like that. I enjoy seeing a team with that fight, with that commitment, that's technically sound on the ball, but doesn't compromise itself going forward. Picks its spots, picks its battles. That can do very well in a tournament setting because probably if they play 34 games in a regular season, if they're a club team, they're probably not going to win a regular season. But in a 7-game tournament, you can be very effective. So there is something to be said about that.
Is this a model for those outside the traditional corridors of power in world football?
That's the only way I think.
Europe?
It's the only way.
So let's spin it back to CONCACAF.
But why is it the only way really quickly?
Because you don't have the high-end quality players.
You don't have the depth of high-end. You don't have the Griezmanns. You don't even have a Giroud. You don't have a Tchouaméni. You don't have that type of player.
Mexico has this pride thing, this ADN, we want to play al tu por tu, and that's why I think they've never gotten to the quarterfinal, right, in this run since 94, because at the end of the day, when you try to go against the best of the best, and you're trying to play their game, 9 out of 10, you're going to lose. Can Mexico change what it does? And more importantly, kind of for a majority of our audience, can the U.S., who I think is trending towards trying to play al tu por tu, can they adjust and become a more pragmatic? Is that actually the best thing for American soccer?
Well, there are different ways of being pragmatic. You can be pragmatic behind the ball or pragmatic even in the front of the ball.
I'm thinking of the U.S. in this tournament. They went toe-to-toe with England. They went toe-to-toe with Netherlands.
Fine.
You know, is that the best way for the U.S.?
They're not there yet. So
should they copy what Morocco did?
They're not there yet in player pool. Right. You've got some very good players. Mm-hmm. And your players are cracking in some very good lineups.
But you compare the U.S. pool probably to the Morocco pool, right?
Very much so. Very much so. Now, let me compare the Mexican pool to the Dutch pool, okay?
Okay.
Because of style, okay? That pool, historically, with all the world-class players that have come and gone through that pool, they've played their way, their style, and they've come very close, but they've never won a World Cup.
Okay.
Okay? Mexico is still light years behind the Netherlands in terms of producing and having that type of player. So you must find a formula where you can compete versus those type of players. And I'm not just saying one game. You can win one game. But in a World Cup setting, it's you got to at least win or advance in 5 of those games.